Now, Donald Trump has paused military aid to Ukraine. Europe and Ukraine are feeling alienated as Washington is edging closer to Moscow. Trump had previously expressed his dislike for the NATO military alliance, and now the European leaders are openly debating. Should they have a European nuclear missile shield? Now, Macron says that he's open to provide the French nukes for protecting Europe. But the question, of course, is this: can he? Take a look.
The world is on the edge as the war in Ukraine drags on and Russia grows more aggressive. The equations are changing rapidly. Europe finds itself at a watershed moment. For decades, the continent relied on Big Brother America for its security. But now that certainty is fading. Germany wants the UK and France to deploy a nuclear shield over Europe to deter a possible Russian strike amid fears NATO may no longer be able to count on US support. Now Paris is saying the time has come to expand the French nuclear umbrella.
De la paix et de la sécurité en Europe.
In response to the historic appeal of the future German Chancellor, I have decided to open the strategic debate on the protection afforded by our deterrent to our allies on the European continent. Whatever happens, the decision has always been and will remain in the hands of the President of the Republic, head of the armed forces.
Chef des armées.
Moscow isn't taking the nuclear talks lightly and says discussions about extending France's nuclear deterrent to European partners are a threat.
This is a threat to Russia. If he considers us a threat, calls a meeting of the chiefs of general staff of European countries and Britain, says that it is necessary to use nuclear weapons, prepare to use nuclear weapons against Russia, this, of course, is a threat.
The question is, under what political and financial conditions will Paris and London be prepared to maintain or expand their own strategic capabilities for collective security? Britain and France are Europe's only nuclear powers. But even their collective power is a fraction of that employed by Russia. That has the world's largest and most varied collection of nuclear weapons, even larger Washington's vast stockpiles. NATO's nuclear deterrence relies massively on the US, that has deployed several hundred warheads in countries across Europe, primarily at locations in Germany, Italy, Belgium, Turkey and the Netherlands, to serve as a deterrent for the continent. If the US withdraws support from NATO, it is a cause for concern for European defense chiefs, who could see their nuclear capabilities completely diminish. The UK has some 225 warheads at its disposal, all of which are carried on nuclear Vanguard submarines. But only 40 are ready to deploy at any one time. France has a slightly larger nuclear arsenal with 290 warheads, most of which are also submarine-based, in addition to around 50 cruise missiles that can be deployed by French bomber aircraft. Clearly, the world is entering a new dangerous phase, and diplomacy is the way forward to reduce the rising tensions. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is happening at this moment with respect to the Ukraine war, we joined this broadcast by Dr. Paul Dorfman, who is a Bennett scholar at the Bennett Institute, University of Sussex, and also a member of the Irish Government Radiation Protection Advisory Committee and chair of the Nuclear Consulting Group. He's joining us live in this broadcast. Now, Dr. Dorfman, this is a critical moment with respect to what is happening in Ukraine. You know, after that disastrous interaction that Volodymyr Zelensky had with Donald Trump in the Oval Office, it appeared that he had climbed down a little bit from his earlier position. But now, looking at what is happening in Europe, especially in the case of Emmanuel Macron, who seems to be very stoutly backing the Ukrainian defense, possibly even talking about offering the French a nuclear shield for the rest of Europe. Do you think at this moment the Ukraine war could go on for a lot longer because of the support that it is getting from Ukraine's European allies?
Certainly something has changed quite recently, and that has been the US administration. And it has had a significant ripple effect. Europe now plans an 800 billion euro defense fund. As discussed, Macron is planning advancing the French nuclear umbrella to Europe. The UK has an independent nuclear deterrent. And Merz, Germany's chancellor, says that Trump will no longer unconditionally honor NATO's mutual defense commitment. So we seem to be entering quite an uncomfortable phase. That said, in terms of strategic tactical nuclear responses, the UK and France's deterrent capacity, although less than Russia's capacity, is still very, very great. The problem with all of this is that it can trigger a ripple effect, and further regional powers, for example, Ukraine, may seek some other form of nuclear deterrent capacity. So without question, we are seeing a ramping up of grave concern.
Interesting. And also, the news that's just come in recently where Russia has rejected a proposal for a temporary month-long ceasefire. Do you think Russia is sensing its opportunity, considering that the United States is no longer willing to back the Ukrainian war effort, and therefore it could press ahead?
As Macron has said, Russia knows no borders. Putin seems to be pushing ahead no matter what. I think we've all been here in the sort of late 1930s, 40s, and one knows what happens when an aggressive state keeps on with its aggression. In terms of response to a global bully, perhaps the way forward is to say enough is enough.
Mm-hmm. And just to quickly follow up with that, do you think Ukraine on its own and with the Europeans backing the Ukrainian defense effort, do you think they can actually fight this war without the American weapons?
That's an open question. Certainly Ukraine has enough to continue for the rest of the year. Europe has just okayed a plan for an 800 billion euro defense fund. So if there's a distinction, of course, between talking about conventional, so-called conventional military and unconventional military, but behind it all, in the discussion that we've been having, you and I have been having, is questions of military nuclear ramping and military nuclear deterrence.
Indeed, we'll have to leave that. We're completely out of time. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Dorfman, for joining us with that perspective there. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.